and welcome to LSE Focus. It is post-match reaction show time after a contender for the funniest Merseyside Derby of all of our lives. And there's plenty of other competitors. Let's get that one out the way already. Pickford off the crossbar, the 5-2 this season. The list could go on for, longer than I plan on recording this video for. But the fact of the matter is today might have just topped the lot. Liverpool's reserves, Liverpool's under 23s. Some random lads Jurgen Klopp went and pulled off of Anfield Road before the game and said, stick a red shirt on, go out and just, have some fun with that. That they have just beaten Everton Football Club. And not just Everton Football Club, Everton's first team. An Everton first team managed by Carlo Ancelotti. And it begs the question, if they can't do it today, if they couldn't get a win at Anfield under those kind of circumstances, managed by a world-class Champions League winning manager, Premier League winning manager, he has done it all. And they're playing their first team against just a gang of lads who've barely kicked a ball for Liverpool this season. If they can not only not win that game, if they're losing that game, why do they even bother showing up, lads? It beggars belief. They're so bad. And I can't get my head around it. But of course, loads and loads of credit has to go to this Liverpool side as well. They were absolutely sublime when they needed to be today. Of course, they weren't anywhere near as dominant as the first team would have been. Get that out of the way. It was a much more even game than it would have been had Mo Salah, Firmino, Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Jordan Henderson, and all of those lads been starting. Liverpool probably would have steamrolled Everton, as they always do. This ended up being a much closer game, but I thought all of those young lads absolutely covered themselves in glory today. They were brilliant. Starting from the back, Adrian Sam Miguel coming up with some massive saves. Why on earth West Ham have sold him, especially when you consider the divvy they've got in now as their second choice keeper. Can't get my head around that either. He's brilliant. He's assured, he's calm, he knows what to do in difficult situations. He stays big as well. Those shots coming in, he basically banked on them not being too far in the corners and just made himself as big as he possibly could. Basically, he banked on Everton being rubbish, and that's a banker if ever I heard it. And it paid off because he comes away with a clean sheet as well. Even if you want to criticise Liverpool's defence, they didn't concede a goal today against what was supposed to be a good Everton side. So that's obviously something that the lads will come away with massive credit for as well. Adrian certainly contributed with the big saves, especially in the first half as well. In front of him, Joe Gomez, so assured, just marshalling that back line, always in charge, always knew what he was doing, helping the younger lads through the game as well. We heard when Jordan Henderson came in for Virgil van Dijk alongside Joe Gomez in the Club World Cup. Apparently Gomez was very, very vocal, talking Jordan Henderson all the way through the game, helping him out, making sure he felt like he understood what was going on, the game plan and stuff like that. And he must have been doing the same thing today because, that back line did really, really well given the situation they were presented with. And of course, alongside Joe Gomez, you had Nat Phillips, who had some iffy moments, but was nowhere near as bad as I thought he was going to be. I've heard some things about his time in Stuttgart. People saying, he's solid, but even for the Bundesliga too, he's been caught out a lot in terms of his pace. And I was really worried thinking about, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Moise Kean coming off the bench and Theo Walcott as well, that they'd cause him some serious problems. But he was kind of fine, to be honest. He wasn't brilliant. He wasn't Virgil van Dijk or Joel Matip or Joe Gomez. But that's understandable. We weren't expecting that from him. What we were expecting was a solid performance. And I think, to be fair to the lad, he delivered that today at centre-half alongside Joe Gomez. At right-back, Nico Williams. What a fella. What an absolute fella. If it wasn't for the fact that Liverpool had the best right-back in the world currently playing for us, then he would be a shoo-in for a first-team contender going into the next batch of games. Obviously, now we're through to the fourth round of the FA Cup. He's going to get at least another start. I don't see any argument as to why he shouldn't be starting in the next game, because he's in the Trent Alexander-Arnold mould. He's the perfect right back for the Liverpool system. And, listen, maybe he's obviously not as good as Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's not going to usurp Trent Alexander-Arnold. But what a kid to have as backup as well. He was fantastic and he plays the same way as well, so it wouldn't affect our game plan. If Trent got injured, I would be absolutely fine with Nico Williams coming in and doing the exact same job. He was excellent today. Defensively as well, showed so much energy, showed much desire, always getting to the ball, always making interceptions, making tackles, and then going forward, putting crosses in, cutting inside, getting shots off as well. He was the complete right back in the Liverpool mould, and he was just brilliant. And if it wasn't for a certain lad playing in midfield that I'll come on to a little bit later, he would be an absolute shoo-in for man of the match in my opinion. Nico Williams. Moving on, the left back, Yasser Larouci, I thought really struggled in the first half. but came into his own in the second half, and I think that's understandable given the way he was brought into the game, coming on as a sub for James Milner. He hadn't really had any time to warm up whatsoever and was being thrown into a game that had already started, so it's no surprise really. Also on that side with Theo Walcott, who was having a very, very good game and was always going to cause our left back problems. I think Yasser Larouci coped reasonably well, although he was caught out a fair few times, and he did need Adrian to bail him out a couple of times in the first half. But as you got into the second half, he performed so much better. Everton just were not getting past him as the game progressed, which was a theme of the entire match, to be honest. As we got into that second half, they just had nothing left to give, and I think it's something that I was thinking before the game. You know, if we just stay in it towards the latter stages, then we will probably get the better of them, because they played their first team, even though in hindsight maybe that was the wrong decision. Maybe Jurgen Klopp made the right call in terms of, not just in terms of disrespecting the competition, all that kind of thing, and taking the Premier League more seriously, but just for the sake of match fitness, our players were able to go for the full 90 minutes and Everton just weren't capable of matching that, and I think that's what undid them in the end. Of course, if they'd maybe got goals in the early stages when they were dominating possession and creating some big chances, then we wouldn't be talking about that as a problem. But the fact of the matter is, Everton didn't finish their chances, and when Liverpool started to get some, Liverpool finished their chances with aplomb. Speaking of which, Curtis Jones, what a fella. What an absolute fella. An 18-year-old Scouser coming in for all the other lads who've been rested today in a Merseyside derby in the Cup, when the pressure is really on for us to not throw away that unbeaten record at Anfield for 20 years, to not throw that unbeaten record in all derbies for coming up to 10 years now. The pressure was on there, and Curtis Jones delivered like a young Steven Gerrard would have done, curling it into the top corner. Maybe there's an argument that a goalie with some slightly longer arms would have saved it, but as we know, if you're up against Everton, aim for the little arms. Divock Origi's done it time and time again, and it's worked out all right for him, and Curtis Jones is learning from the best on that front with an absolute peach of a shot. I mean, it could not have been more top bins, could it, lads? As you watched it go in, you went, no, that's no way's that going in. Then suddenly it clips off the bar, it bounces down over the line, and pandemonium ensues at Anfield, right in front of that massive Everton end as well. You know, Everton obviously won the toss, thought that making us attack the Annie Road end instead of the Kop end in the second half would make a difference. It made no difference whatsoever, apart from the fact that it actually potentially made that goal even funnier than it already was. And Curtis Jones, just apart from that goal, he was brilliant. You know, he looks like a first team player, and of course with the injury to James Milner now, he might get some chances. There's some difficult games coming up, of course, against Spurs, Man United, Wolves, and whatever happens in the fourth round of the FA Cup as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got some chances, whether it's off the bench or whether it's starting in the place of someone who's injured. I wouldn't be surprised, and I also would be absolutely fine with it, because he's been that good, and he looks like the perfect player for the Liverpool system. He looks assured, he blends in, he gels with all the other first teamers as well. You know, it's Divock Origi who sets him up for that goal after a little 1-2 between the pair of them. So he's just absolutely fantastic. Liverpool have got so many brilliant players coming out of the academy. So many players that we didn't even know about at the start of the season. You know, there was a lot of chat, of course, about Harvey Elliott, who was brilliant today as well, about Ryan Brewster, who got a little bit of a cameo. But players like Curtis Jones and Nico Williams, we barely considered them going into this season, and they have shown themselves to be brilliant footballers who are more than worthy of our attention. So Curtis Jones has got to get the Man of the Match award as well. Pedro Chiravella, the Kirafella, was just sound, you know, nothing special at any given time really, but he was probably seen as a little bit of a weak link. It's balmy that he's even starting games for Liverpool in the year of our Lord 2020, but we are where we are, and he's still starting games for Liverpool, and he's still turning in absolute 6.5 out of 10. He was fine, wasn't he, type of performances. Another one from Pedro Chiravella today. Everton didn't get past him, Everton didn't score a goal. What more can you ask for from your defensive midfielder? And of course we won the game, so I'm not really that fussed at all about how Chiravella played, to be perfectly honest. Lallana as well, really good performance. You know, obviously drafted into the game, the only first teamer who played the full 90 today and played that game against Sheffield United just a few days ago. I thought he dealt with that absolutely well. He didn't look anywhere near as leggy as any of those Everton players did in the latter stages of the game, which is full credit to him. I think he's gone on 30 years now, so he's getting a little bit old. It would have been perfectly understandable if he did go down with cramp, but he just showed relentless energy all the way through the game, helped stitch some things things together in the middle, you know, provided a little bit of experience in the middle of the park. And I thought that midfield three together were just relentless, especially the second half. Everton could not get the ball, and when they did get the ball, they just couldn't keep it, because as soon as they tried to play out, Liverpool were on them like a pack of wild animals, ripping them to bits, taking the ball back and running at their defence once again. And I think Adam Lallana deserves credit for his role in that way that we played. He was brilliant, as were the rest of the lads today. You know, the attack as well. Divock Origi did what Divock Origi does, caused Everton absolute nightmares, caused problems all games, gets another assist as well, another goal involvement against the Blues. This time, you know, we can't give him too much credit. It's just a layoff for an absolute belter of a strike from Curtis Jones. But if he hadn't played the pass, we probably wouldn't have seen that goal. So credit to you, Divock Origi, for that as well. And I thought, aside from that, just caused them problems all game. Mina as well looked effective, coming in early. He was never going to be at his absolute best, I think it's fair to say. I think it was nice to just be able to see him in a Liverpool shirt and see what he's got. I do like the way he plays. His movement is very, very quick. He takes up kind of unorthodox positions, makes unexpected runs in the box that always seem to find a way through, which is really, really promising. I think he will gel so brilliantly with our attack. Obviously, we don't really know where he's going to fit in, whether it's going to be a front four type of situation, whether he's going to rotate in, whether he might play from deep, be a backup for Bobby Firmino. Who really knows yet? I think it was interesting to see him line up down the middle. I don't know whether that's where his long-term future lies. I personally think he would be better off in one of those inside forward roles like the ones that Mane and Salah occupy. I think his movement, the speed and the tenacity and the positions that he takes up suits that kind of position down to the absolute ground. But I think he looks like he's good enough to play anywhere across that front three for Liverpool at the moment. And I like the way he drives the ball as well. You know, he's not always looking for just a pass. He's not always looking to just lay the ball off. Sometimes he is just thinking, well, if the space is there, if the opportunity to run at the defence is there, then I'll take it. And that is an absolutely fantastic thing to see. Harvey Elliott as well, you know, the lad is brilliant. We all know that by now. 16 years old, and he's running rings around this first team Everton defence. Again, every time I say it, that was Everton's first team. I still can't quite get my head around it. Another good performance from Harvey Elliott. Decent cameo from Ryan Brewster when he comes on as well. Great to see Oxlade-Chamberlain back so early, especially given that injury to James Milner. We probably will need to call on Ox for the game in 6 days' time against Spurs. But in the meantime, who's even fussed about that Spurs match right now? I know we don't care about the FA Cup and it's all about the league. But when you win it like that, a 1-0 win at home against your Merseyside rivals, your local rivals, the team that cannot buy a win against you for love nor money, and it's an 18-year-old Scouser belting it in like Steven Gerrard to win the match against Everton's first team. Liverpool's backup players, Liverpool's resis have done the business, because the fact of the matter is it doesn't really matter who's wearing the shirt. If Klopp's on the touchline and the Live Bird's on the chest, then you can guarantee Liverpool will always do the business against the Blues. And that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely evening. I'm sure you will after a result like that. And for any Blues who are watching, I don't know why you would, but hard lines, mate. I reckon you guys should just pack it in. Apart from that, don't forget to hit the like button down there below if you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos out on the channel that have been out over the last few days. Don't forget to follow at LSU Focus TV on Twitter. And I'll be back soon with that pre-match content for the game against Spurs. Until then, have a good one. Bye for now.